Hey, good morning, everybody. We're trying for a little bit better Wi-Fi today, so I'm closer to my router to see if that works out. Anyway, I don't know who I am. I'm Rita Hickman, and I'm a body-mind expert and a shiatsu massage therapist, and I use all of these tools and skills and Asian medicine and life experience and understanding of how the body-mind works and metaphysics, and I take all of that and I wrap it up into a package that helps women who have narcissists in their life, and how stressful that is, and how overwhelming and alone, and how people don't really understand that there's all of this shame and guilt and victimhood and control by your emotions and sadness and anxiety and depression. I mean, you feel like you're completely crazy. And to the rest of the world, when you try to explain what's going on, if they don't have any experience with it, then they do think you're crazy. And they have their own wounds come up. You know, one of the biggest challenges is that victims of narcissistic abuse, which can be from when you were a child, it can be physical violence, sexual violence, emotional violence, it can be, manipulation, it can be all sorts of things based on people who have their own mental and emotional issues that they need to work with. And for whatever reason, we end up in a relationship. We're either working with them, coworker, boss, we're living with them. They're our spouse or our child. We're related to them. Maybe we're getting divorced from them. Maybe we want to avoid them in the future and we're starting a new relationship and need to make sure that we don't attract, or create all of the old stuff we created before. So it's important to really start to get help at this stage, to start to reach out and look for people who can help you through this process, because you really can't do it alone. And it really is about becoming the best version of yourself that you can by finally getting the things that you need and learning how to navigate this whole toxic situation until you're ready for the next chapter of your life. So today we're talking about, is a narcissist purposely trying to hurt you? So there's lots of different reasons for narcissism, for people behaving in a very narcissistic, self-absorbed, me, nothing else exists sort of way. And actually they're kind of extremes on either spectrum. So some people who have narcissism, who are completely self-absorbed, who don't have too many emotions about anything, whose primary focus is on themselves and what's going on in their life and what's important to them and how things affect them. That's one side of the equation. And many times those people are engineers, doctors, airline pilots. They are in the science fields. They're extremely intelligent in some ways, but lack emotional intelligence or connection or compassion or understanding. Those people are more on the low-level, high-functioning sort of, like you might say, the autism spectrum. So there's autism, then there's Asperger's, and then there's kind of everybody else until you hit the middle line, and then people start to become, more emotional than they are rational. So if you have somebody in your life who's a narcissist just because they're so self-absorbed and out of touch with everybody around you, then it's very likely that they're not purposely trying to hurt you. It's that they're clueless and they're self-absorbed. And it actually is genetic, and it's wired into them, and it probably is undiagnosed on that of the spectrum. So when people struggle with that, their internal world is very vibrant. They have a difficult time reading people's emotions. They are hypersensitive to their own emotions, but the majority of the time completely clueless about anybody else. That's probably on the side of being on the spectrum. So if you have somebody like that in your life, they probably aren't purposely doing it, and you should start exploring the topic and information around Asperger's or being on the spectrum. Because many of the behaviors of people who struggle with that, and most of it, 90% of it, I think, is undiagnosed. Most of the people who struggle with that, it's their nature. It's, and you as the person in a relationship with them can either accept that that's their nature or that it's not, but it's certainly probably not meant purposely to hurt you. It's more like they really are, very ignorant and incapable of being present. Now, the other side of the spectrum is when people are extremely manipulative, extremely controlling, when they are hyper emotional all the time, when you have to walk on eggshells, when they're in a constant state of anxiety, constant state of mood swings and depression, and you know, maybe you've been able to have it good at some times, but then other times they have these meltdowns and they go off the deep end. One of the things that happens when a narcissist has one of their episodes is that they go so deep into protection mode that everybody is an enemy. Everybody is somebody to be protected against. I like to call it lockdown. They get stressed, and then something happens and they go into lockdown. And then they get out nuclear weapons and they're going to devastate everything that's in a 100-mile radius. Which is you know, of course, because they keep everybody else at an even further distance than you. They're never allowed to see the meltdown. So those narcissists, typically, yes, they are trying to hurt you. They're saying things because they want to hurt you. Sometimes they want to hurt you so that you go far away. You know, I've had a number of people who in my life who've been narcissists who they purposely say things when they're stressed out because they want to end the conversation, because they're not interested in your point of view. They have nothing that they want to hear from you. And so they will purposefully say hurtful things in order to get you to go away and to end the conversation. They don't want to hear about it. Now, narcissists will also purposely try to hurt you because you're the enemy, and they need to hurt you as much as possible in order to, you know, keep you from getting emotionally close to them. They have got to do and say everything that could hurt you the most so that you don't get close, so that you don't have an effect. They're in this place of, I need to hurt all of my enemies and and you are my enemy, and I need to hurt you most of all. So yeah, they are. Is it purposeful? Well, of course, from a certain, to a certain extent, it's very purposeful. Yes, they are trying to hurt you. Why are they trying to hurt you? For reasons which are more complicated than you will ever be able to understand. It's certainly not about you. It's not about something that you didn't do perfect or you not being enough. Nothing to do with that. It's more like they live in this level of anxiety, and when balanced, there we go, we're back online. So when they get imbalanced like that, what happens? Down mode. They go into all costs, no matter what, and they're going to use the biggest weapons that they have. They are imbalanced. They are irrational. They're not in their right mind. They're protecting themselves. They're manipulating the situation. They're going cold, or they're going angry, or they're exploding because they get control. So purposely being, trying to do compassion to you, and that aren't that person, nothing will have. What relationships? Because then